The old hat SEO tactics were link building. Let's make sure we put our meta tags in our website. Let's make sure we stuff as many keywords in the keyword title or in the keyword meta tag. Great description, great H1, great title tags. Those are all still to a very small extent relevant, except for the keywords tag, which for some reason everybody's just now catching on to. But back in 2006, Google in a press conference said, oh yeah, years ago, we stopped even looking at that tag. Nobody cares about it. I think some people still stick it in there. I mean, we stick it in there, but just out of habit or what, but what if? Because the algorithm is a mystery. So the old hat tactics are just, these days, just the foundation. They are the things that you just have to do in order to even be relevant for Google to look at. And that is, again, your site and on-site structures. We'll get into that in just a little bit. But what's the difference here? What's the point in driving 10,000 people to your website, whether you trick Google or not, if you're not ready for them when they get there? You have to have the strategy, you have to have the goal there, and you have to be prepared for the conversion process and cycle. And with every single person that comes to your website, are you taking full advantage of them? Of the opportunity, not of them, but of the opportunity presented by them actually making it to your website. If you drove 10,000 people there and you have no contact us form, you have no modal pop-up, no lead magnets of any kind, what's the point? What are you trying to get them to do? What if you don't even have your phone number on there? We've run into that more than enough times. So you have to be prepared, and that's why it's a true strategy. It's not just, I'm going to stand up here and tell you the exact page structure that you need to have, and then, man, your site is just going to show up at the top here. So 5 questions. That's what we're going to walk through, and then we'll get into a little bit more of the technical stuff. Question 1, what do or can we create that helps solve searchers' questions or problems? And this is the default when we're talking about content marketing. This is the default last week or last month when we were going through relationship marketing. What can we create from a content perspective in order to draw the searchers? If you know everything in the world about pediatrics or general health or about websites, about accounting, about cars, whatever it might be, but it's all up in your head or it's all on brochures, Google can't find you. So you have to be constantly thinking, what can we create to solve these problems? Content marketing is, I don't know, within the last 3 years, it became a kind of the fad in the whole digital marketing spectrum. But content marketing is very simply a process of putting out high quality content that's answering the questions, that is relevant to what the searcher is saying. Google will find you, and eventually, with enough linking, enough sharing, and enough effort, you will rank high. All those individual pages. The goal is not always to drive people to the home page, but to go to any page and be prepared to convert on those pages themselves. So content marketing is a long game. You're not going to go out there and blog. I mean, how many empty blogs have there been out there? Last post 2009, last post 2012. You're shouting into the void if you expect to go start a blog and then within a month have 10,000 readers or see this ROI that immediately happens. But what can you do or create is the very first question you need to ask yourself. If you don't know the answer to this question, then your SEO is going to fail. And that's the point of all of these. If you don't know the answers to these, you will not be successful. Google doesn't care if your page has all the keywords in it anymore. You can have all the keywords in the world. It cares that you answer the question. If I go on my site on WideNet Consulting and I write a blog all about Britney Spears, and then somebody goes online and searches for Britney Spears, I should not think that just because amidst my article on search engine optimization that I referenced her, just now I referenced her, or if we transcribe this, It's going to have it in there. I can say it 15 times. That in no way is going to help me rank for that, because that doesn't answer any searcher's goal. They're not looking for when was she referenced in terms of search engine optimization. They're looking for what she's doing. I don't know why anybody would look for her. It doesn't matter. She's relevant these days, but I'm sure that people are. The next question is, what is the unique value we provide that no one else does? Great book here. It's called Purple Cow. It's by Seth Godin, one of my absolute favorite authors. Very short books, small, really easy to get through. The question is, why do you exist when there are alternatives? Why buy a website from us when you can get one at 100 other places? Why use a CRM at HubSpot or at GetBase or at Salesforce.com when there are so many options out there for contact relationship management software? That's the question you have to identify, and that's the question you have to answer. And if you can answer that question and you can come up with the unique value, then you know at that point how to attract the people. What is the differentiator between you and everybody else, so that when they're searching, if they happen to be searching for that, or when they get there, how are you going to convert them? This is the way you're going to do that. Okay, so Purple Cow is all about, he's driving down the countryside. His family goes over to France. Seth Godin's telling the story. He's driving down the road and he's looking at cows. And he's like, man, these fields are beautiful, and look at the wine, and the sky is beautiful. And then cows, and he's a young kid. He just thinks cows are so cool. And then he sees some more cows, and then he sees some more cows. And the only thing after an hour and a half, 2 hours of driving past cows that is going, okay, that's going to catch your attention. I'm sorry, I'm gonna just unplug this and plug it back in. This is fraught with technical difficulties today, apparently. The only thing that's going to catch his attention at that point is a purple cow. If he saw a purple cow, he'd be like, Mom, oh my gosh, look, there's a purple cow right here. And so that's why it's called Purple Cow. That's why you're trying to differentiate yourself. And this isn't a WideNet sales pitch. We're trying to decide on how we're going to create a CRM. I'm reading this book, Purple Cow, and I keep hearing, why would you make something that there's already 10 copies of? Why would you make something that it just doesn't matter if you add your noise to this already very busy field? And I'm sorry, I'm just going to take 1 second here, and well, that is not booted up yet. All right, and why would you add your noise into a crowded market? And my answer is, as it is in most other situations, I feel like we could do it better. You feel like you can offer a better service and insurance product. You feel like your healthcare is better. You feel like the way that you deal with your clients is not something that they're used to. So you have a great answer to their problem. Again, Purple Cow, great book. I'd write it down. There's a lot of great Seth Godin books. I've referenced them quite a few times in the past. All right, number 3, who will help amplify our message and why will they do it? So, sorry. If the old way was to generate as many links as you could from, there's a bird, I'm sorry, I'm getting something else weird. The old way was to generate as many links as you could, make sure you stuffed those keywords everywhere on the site, and eventually your site got ranked, and it could happen very, very quickly. In this way, in the current shift, since the penguin rollout and then the hummingbird rollout, and these are all fancy bird names for algorithms that Google has. Since these rollouts, what's become required is you cannot just go out and buy these links to come in. You can't go use that $50 GoDaddy service that says pay $50 this one time and then you're going to have SEO done for you. Like, that's not a thing anymore. You have to have the content. It has to be relevant. So how do you get the content? We talked about that. And then how does that content become linked to? You have to earn the ranking signals or the links. And it's not always just a link. It can be the Facebook sharing. It can be, I don't even know. It could be anything from an author page rank link, which I want to say they just shifted, and that might be dying here soon, to directories, to Yelp, to Foursquare, to Facebook, to all of these different mediums, which is why when we hear talk about SEO to our clients, we talk about it in okay, well, SEO is not dead, but SEO is now a part of what we call a web presence. So we don't necessarily focus on SEO, we focus on web presence optimization, which is controlling the message, keeping the message completely consistent, and genuinely controlling that first page of Google. So if somebody looks up your company, they need to see that you're on Pinterest. They need to see that you're on Instagram and all of these different places, or if it's Yelp, or if it's directory, or if it's thelawyers.com. I can't think of that main directory they have, but whatever. You have to be able to control the message. And when you do control the message, then you've gained the rights to earn those links in. And how do you earn? We talked about this last month, relationship marketing. You earn those links. You earn the share by providing value to the person. So when you think about what you share on Google, or not on Google, in your email, think about what you share on Facebook and Twitter. Anything that brought you value, whether that value was through laughter or whether that value was 10 tips to improve your home to sell it, 8 great quotes from CEOs to help you get your business off the ground when you're feeling down. There are so many tips, entrepreneur.com, inc.com. I read them just genuinely every day. And every once in a while, I'll find a great tip. And what do? I share it because they've earned that share by putting together great content. So it's, again, it's a little more of a long game, but it's still required. Within that same process here of who will help amplify our message and why will they do it, we need the people to care. And I think I just went through some of this, but the email inbox is the place to be. Now, it can, of course, get overwhelmed. I think people have done a pretty good job of filtering out the spam or filtering out even the newsletters they've signed up with. And Google, of course, rolled out that categories that made everybody's life better and my life harder. You've got to get in the inbox. But as long as you're bringing the value, then they're going to keep you in the inbox and you're going to have their eyes. And when you're thinking about where are people using their phones, where are people reading their emails, it's when they have the time. And when they have the time is when you want their eyeball, not when they're driving down the road and they see your billboard and they're like, oh, that's neat. And then our attention span is this long, you're gone, you're out of their mind. And they're not going to remember to go download your app. They're not going to remember your phone number as they drove past. You've got to, at best, with a billboard, in my opinion, billboards are not dead, but you've got to drive them somewhere so that they'll take an action that will connect them with your website or your social or something else. It all has to connect together, or your disparate message will be a big waste of money. You're not going to get the ROI, and again, take advantage of the opportunity that you have with everybody that comes to you, like the forgotten blog, or you're going to fail. Those are just things I've already covered. Since we need the amplification to get the ranking signals, we need to know who we're going for. Sometimes that's not your current customer. Sometimes that's your target. It's always your target audience, but it could be your target customer. But most importantly, and this is a big discussion right now in our industry and to do with SEO, is getting those influencers out there, connecting with them. And from all intents and purposes, connecting with an influencer is very hard. An influencer is somebody like Gary Vaynerchuk, somebody like Seth Godin, who I showed. It's somebody who's famous in your world. So that might be, well, for instance, we have a client, that's really into therapy. So he has Dr. Gottman, John. I think John Gottman is a big time therapist. If you could get Gottman, whatever effort, whatever it takes to get him to point to you, it's going to come back to you tenfold. It'll always be worth that effort if you do it correctly and you connect with the right influencer that doesn't just shout your message out to 10,000 random people. They push it and they influence the people that you want to be your customers. So if you can connect with an influencer, if you don't have the time, then it's not worth it. Because you have to do it properly. Number 4, so what is your process for turning visitors from search into customers? If you haven't thought that through, that's sales. So we're going from, I've got somebody to come to my website. This is the very first thing we talked about. I finally got them here. All right. Now what? Did they read that blog and just leave? Did you pop up a modal pop-up? We've started doing this on some of ours. It's proven. If you can do it in an unintrusive way, or just slightly intrusive way where it's kind of annoying, but not making you hate the person in the site, then it's worth it every time. Have that pop-up that comes up and you don't say, hey, sign up for our newsletter. Nobody wants a newsletter. Nobody wants one more thing they have to delete or mark as spam eventually. You ask them in that modal pop-up, would you like help? Let's say, for instance, they're on a page about a particular illness, and your website has a knowledge base of the various illnesses on it, whatever that might be. I mean, anything from a sprained ankle to an actual illness. So they're on sprained ankle page. It pops up. Do you have trouble falling down a lot, right? Do you want to figure out how to not do that because it's bad for your health? Give us your first and last name and email address, and you'll get these funny tips or funny content. We're going to share that with you so that you can, save yourself from stupidity. So you've got that versus sign up for our newsletter. Nobody's going to do that. You have to answer, and it goes back to the very beginning. You have to answer a question. You have to help the person, or else you're just wasting your time. And on that, I'm sorry, I kind of went on a tangent. I tend to do that. The sales funnel process. So you've got the modal pop-up. The next step is, what do you do with that? And then that comes off of SEO. That comes off of what we're talking about now. But you've got your leads. Those funnel down into hot leads, potential customers. You go after the sale. You present the proposal, or you send them the information to come visit you, whatever it might be. And we don't have to just talk about sales. You can go into volunteers, donations, joining in the cause, whatever it might be. You're funneling it down until eventually they are clients, they're customers. And then the last step, which has become my favorite step, is where you turn that customer or that client into an advocate, where they're still your customer, but they're that customer that's influencing your potential other customers. They're the ones going out there and saying, no, this is where you need to buy your insurance. This is where you need to get your health care. And this is where you need to go to school at. I went there. It was epic. I loved it. I was in the Southerners. The Southerners at JSU creates an army of advocates with every batch that graduates. Every single batch. They love it. They're passionate about it. But it's a team. It's an organization. And what we have to figure out with each individual brand is, how do we get that same feeling about you? And if you're not giving them something, then it'll never happen. How do we expose, number 5, how do we expose our content in a way that search engines can easily crawl, understand, and deliver to searchers? This, to round it all out, is your typical on-site SEO tactics. So if this is what you're waiting to write down, I will go through a bunch of this. I mean, you glance at the time just so, okay, we got plenty of time. How are we going to turn our legal knowledge or medical knowledge or knowledge of our industry, our website and marketing knowledge, whatever it might be, into something that a search engine can perceive? Content needs to answer the question and not just contain the keywords. Google has gotten exceptional this may sort of be a repeat, there we go, has become exceptional at determining intent. Intent for the searcher, intent of the page, intent of that image, intent of that video, taking the image, taking the video, translating it into the text, into whatever it might be, so that they can present it to the searcher. That's their whole goal. They want advertisers, and the only way they're going to get advertisers is if eyeballs are on the search pages. The only reason eyeballs are there are because when I type in auto insurance Anniston, Calhoun County Insurance shows up. Or if I type in, more importantly, and we're going to get to this in just a second, auto insurance, and I'm in Anniston, it's going to show me Calhoun County Insurance and not Bob's insurance company out in California. Irrelevant, right? Google has finally determined how to do that. So what is shareable? Lead magnets, infographics, video, short form content, Instagram, Snapchat. I mean, Snapchat has changed news in the way that Twitter changed news. I imagine basically nobody except for the few that I've convinced to get on Snapchat in here would either admit or be on Snapchat. Snapchat got a really awkward, bad reputation. Right now, though, I've watched more news, which I hate the news. I prefer to be happy. I've watched more news, whether it be sports, entertainment, or actual politics, more news videos on Snapchat than I have in years.
Where do you subscribe to get those? I haven't seen any business.
I'll just hold it up, all right?
Other than individuals.
So this is Snapchat, right? Okay. Now I'm going to swipe over, and this is your story feed, and you just go one more over, and you've got news. Okay. All I have to do is, this is called the Discover page. All I have to do is tap ESPN. Hold on, my volume's off.
I'm not a pundit, but I agree that Arizona has the best chance to.
And then I can swipe and I can read the news, right?
They've just not played very good basketball.
But they're only like 10 seconds.
They're short, but now if I want to read more about this, I go up here, now I can read the article. All about what happened on
So it's just trying
that
to
play.
direct you to their article by giving like a short, quick.
It's trying to connect you with their brand. These are major brands. ESPN, CNN, Cosmopolitan, People, National Geographic, which is great, by the way. Like, National Geographic is fun. Yahoo, Vice, Warner Music. I've actually watched actual music videos. They still make them. You can go to Warner Music down here, and like whoever's coming out with any music videos, what's that guy? It doesn't matter. You can hit play and watch it, you know, while you're not on the toilet. And so you consume the news now, right? It's been disruptive in a funny way, because it's Snapchat and it has that awkward reputation. Gary Vaynerchuk, one of my, and 2-second tangent here, Gary Vaynerchuk, one of my favorite guys. He's a great influencer in our industry. He talks about, if you have their eyeballs like you do on Snapchat, because they have to hold it down, they have to stare at you, right? While you're saying, or the picture or whatever, you know that you have their eyeballs the whole time. If you can find a way to use that, I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not even saying it's possible for every industry, but especially in my industry, it is. And I imagine that when you're doing that thing where you sell to your friends, or you start to find your way into, hey, follow me on Snapchat, I'm on here, I'm talking about the newest medical procedures. Every once in a while, I read the news, or I keep up with the trends, and every once in a while, I'm going to share it on my story. And for 24 hours, you're going to be able to see my opinion, which, if you value it, my opinion is going to be on Snapchat, and you're going to be able to see what I have to say about medical or legal advice or whatever it might be. And you've got their eyes, and there's not a lot of other mediums out there that you're going to get that. So enough selling Snapchat. Analyze your competitors' tactics. So what we do here, and I think this will help you, is step one, talk to the customer, find out about their strategy. That's the whole point of this. But then you do have to get down to that nitty-gritty tactical stuff, which is, what keyword do you want to show up for? All right. You want to show up for, well, let me go real world. What would you like to show up for? In particular, like what's a search that you think one of your customers might be doing, or potential customers that you would like to show up for on Google?
This is a doctor's office, so a doctor's in your area or something.
Just doctors in Anniston or doctors in Oxford, whatever it might be. Okay, so now we know doctors in Oxford or doctors, whatever it might be. And we're going to talk in just a minute about global and local searching. But if you want to show up for that, that's step one. Let's just find that keyword. Now, let's look at our homepage. Let's look at maybe the homepage isn't the best page, because you don't want to detract from the sales funnel in order to just rank high on SEO. Okay, so you still have to rank high, but you have to make the sale. Again, there's no point in having 10,000 people come. So you've got doctor's office, Anniston, let's just say, and you can make sure it's up in the title, your title tag. It's going to be, and I threw some quick stuff in here. Your schemas, that's a very nerdy technical thing. All of your meta tags, your description, your keywords tags, they're open graph tags. So if somebody shares your homepage, if they share that article or that blog that you wrote about the medical procedure, it's going to show up the way you expect it to and want it to on Facebook. It's called an open graph tag. You can say, Facebook, use this title, this little description, this link, and this picture, not necessarily the pictures as they are in order on my page. You can specify. So those are your open graph tags. Twitter has the Twitter card tags. You have to have all of that. It tells Google that you're relevant, you've kept your site up, my content's new, the date modified's new, and you should keep coming back, because I keep my content up to date and fresh, and my blog's going, my articles, my knowledge base, whatever it might be. And then you've got, of course, the page structure, your H1 tags. You want all your titles to be in H1 tags as they come down. The old above the fold. If this was a newspaper, you're gonna get it in the morning, and then you're gonna open it up. This is the fold right here on a newspaper. They do the same thing on a website. It's, if this is the screen size on average, then you want your H1 tags, your keywords and content to be before they start scrolling, and that's just called above the fold. So then you have the really technical nerdy stuff when you're talking about 301 redirects and site load speed. If your server is slow, you're going to rank lower. Even if your server is fast, but that particular page is running slow, Google will log that. They'll put it in Google Webmaster Tools, and they'll tell you about it. But that's a great resource if you want to write that down. It's in here as well. This will be up on the website. But Google Webmaster Tools is where they tell you where they find errors, how they viewed your robot.txt file that says, can I crawl? Can I not crawl? Your sitemap.xml file. All of these things, you're really starting to get into the technical and nerdy stuff. Now, there are great CMSs out there, and I mentioned it somewhere in there. It doesn't matter. CMS out there. WordPress is one. We have the WideNet control panel. We've started actually shifting towards WordPress somewhat, but a lot of these tools will do that for you, but it changes. Google just within the last 4 months dropped complete support for author rank. And that was where they were trying to connect. If I wrote a blog post for all of y'all's websites, I could still get credit for it using an author rank type tag, even though it was on y'all's sites. And then if I was super popular and I was one of those influencers, then you would get even more credit for having my influencer author rank approved article on your site. It was crazy. It was kind of complicated, and it went over most people's heads. And I think that's why ultimately they killed it, or there wasn't enough ways to prevent the tricking of Google on it. Local versus global SEO. I'm first. It's so scary. I'm first on Google in Anniston when somebody searches for website design company Oxford. Okay, how relevant is that? Well, it's relevant for local sales efforts, but in the end, we're all hoping for a little more recognition. But we need to understand that Google has, through IP addresses, through a lot of different tracking mechanisms, determined where you are. So Now when I type in website design company, we come up first. That's, oh, I'm awesome. I'm so good at SEO. You should all use this for SEO. Yay. Except if you are in Birmingham and you type that, I don't know. I highly doubt it. We're not going to show up first. The people in Birmingham will, the people in Atlanta will. And then you get this real big issue where people that don't understand IP addresses and location-based databases that can determine where you are based on subnets and all this crazy stuff, you can be fooled very quickly into, oh, we can get you on the first page of Google, or we can do this or that. If you, I'm sorry, but if you're not willing to spend $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 a month on SEO, then don't run an SEO nationwide campaign. Nationwide, it's ridiculous. And that's where you have to think about it. Think about the competition you're up against. It's not just your direct competitors. Calhoun County Insurance, it's going to be every article ever written about auto insurance, every Wikipedia article, every Consumer Reports article. Inc.com, I'm sure, writes about how to get liability insurance for your company. You're competing against all of these huge conglomerates with your little blog on your little site in Oxford, Alabama. You're not going to rank nationally, and that's okay, because who cares if somebody in Washington State finds you, compared to somebody locally. Maybe you would want that, but probably going to be through social sharing and that kind of stuff versus SEO. I'm just saying, unless you're ready to really put down the money, don't focus on that. Don't try, because you will fail and you'll get disappointed and you'll have a lot less money to do effective marketing with. And that's usually the suggestion we give our clients, and we've learned that through wasting our own money. So don't do it, all right? Unless you just want to see if we're wrong. Delisting. Has anybody ever heard of delisting on Google and the big issues? So back in the day, you used to go do the 100,000, 150,000 links. The penguin penalty came out. I don't know if I can zoom that. Anyway, what you're seeing is, oh, they're ranked really well, and then just it drops. And then eventually they recover up. When the Google algorithm adjusted, they said link farms, content farms, they found a way, I don't know how, to wipe them off the Google index. So they literally just said, your domain name is no longer allowed to be on Google unless you fix all of these problems. And that's where you go to Google Webmaster Tools, and you can see all the bad links that are coming in. bob.cn.com/12345 links to my site. Oh, now you have to one at a time go in and disavow every one of those links, one at a time. It's very frustrating. It's very long game. Don't black hat hack SEO. Do it the right way. Generate the content. Make sure your site is structured correctly. Make sure it's usable. Generate something people want to see, and you'll always be a lot better off with Google. If you're not on Google Analytics, we should be on Google Analytics. You can connect the two. For those of you who don't know, Google Analytics used to always tell you whenever somebody searched for you, they would tell you the words that they used to find it. But if you don't have Webmaster Tools set up, you can't find the words anymore, because Google swapped over to SSL. So all your searches on Google are now secure. But when you do that search, or when somebody does a search and then it jumps to your site, it no longer passes along the search term they used to get there. It used to, but it doesn't anymore because it's SSL. So that's why, if you're looking at your Google Analytics and you're wondering, why does it always say unspecified? It's because you didn't get it. They were probably all Google results, and Google's not telling you anymore what they were, at least not through the old analytics way. The way they tell you now is they have search engine optimization area within Google Webmaster Tools. And if you like, in a minute, I can bring one of those up for those, if you're interested. You have search engine optimization area, and it'll tell you on average, you're showing up at position 4 for these words it's getting about this many searches every month or week or day. And then this is how many people on average are clicking on you and seeing you and not clicking, which is also just as valuable information. So you do still want links, though. It's still a huge part. It's one of those things that it's very hard to game. So all links aren't created equal. Think about the value of having your website on Microsoft.com's homepage, and that website linking straight to you. Google's going to see that and be like, that's a 10. That's as good as it gets from a link perspective. That's a very valuable link. And then your page rank in all of your rankings for anything you might have ranked before goes up. The higher quality the site that links to you, the better. So don't go out there getting crappy links. It will only work out really bad for you. That's not to say that you still don't do link building, but just understand that it's quality over quantity these days, and it's content over keyword stuffing, and usability and conversion over visitor count. It doesn't matter if you have 10,000 people if none of them are converting. It's a mystery. What we know from today is a matter of trial and error, and that is it's the algorithm. We don't know. So you've got people at Moz.com, great resource. A lot of what I'm talking about here is me studying from Moz.com. MOZ, it used to be called SEO Moz, but again, SEO has become web presence optimization, so they dropped the SEO part because now they deal with social media and other things. But Moz.com, great resource. Rand Fishkin, I think is the guy's name. He does these Whiteboard Fridays. A lot of this comes from that. Loved it. I'll put a link somewhere and give him credit for being a source on this, but it's all trial and error. You're going, okay, well, you saw that last graph here where this penguin penalty and then the recovery, that there were quite a few people. There's so many articles on Moz.com where they purposefully tanked their own rankings just on certain websites just to see what it took to get them to come back up, what it took to tank them and what it took to come back up, just so they would know. And then they share it, and then we learn. And so it changes constantly, and so you have to be on top of it all the time. Again, focus on content, consider the CMS, and at the end of the day, thank you for attending. Now, I know it was quick. It focuses on the strategy versus the other stuff. Was there anything in particular anybody wanted to know that I didn't cover? Do you have any questions at all that I might be able to answer? All right. If you have any questions, please feel free to call or email. Thank you for coming. Absolutely. If you want to grab a sandwich to go, please do, or I'll have to eat them all. If you have any questions, we're here. We'll be hanging around afterwards. I'll be here if you have questions. Just because your boss sent you doesn't mean you might not find something useful. And if you're on the web, please email. If we can do anything, that's what we love to do, is teach and talk, especially me. So thank you very much.